In the heartland of Europe, nestled amidst snow-capped mountains and whispering willows, lay a venerable monastery. For centuries, it had been a sanctuary of sorts, a place where monks and nuns sought solace from the clamor of the world, dedicating their lives to prayer and contemplation. But today was no ordinary day. A somber quiet had fallen over the usually tranquil abode. Inside the ancient chapel, lit only by the soft glow of countless candles, a group of faithful had gathered. Their faces, normally radiant with devotion, were etched with sorrow. The air was thick with grief, not the kind that suffocates, but the kind that pulls at the soul, urging release, acceptance, and a plea for solace. Their eyes, downcast, stared at the worn stones beneath their feet, reflecting the troubled light dancing in their depths. They weren't merely sad. They were united in their despair, sharing a burden that seemed too heavy to bear. Then, as if guided by an unseen hand, they began to chant, their voices rising and falling like the tide, crashing against the shores of their sorrow. Their Gregorian chants, usually so full of life and light, took on a tone of profound melancholy. Each note carried a prayer, each word a teardrop. It was a lament, a raw outpouring of the human condition, a song of suffering and an appeal for mercy. Amidst the echoing chants, a hush fell over the chapel. All eyes turned heavenward, as if to implore the very heavens to listen, to understand, and to heal. In that moment, the boundaries between earth and sky seemed to blur. The walls of the chapel dissolved, and the faithful were no longer just people, but vessels of anguish, their pain abridged to the divine. And then, as if in response to their fervent plea, a luminous figure materialized within the chapel. He stood bathed in an otherworldly glow, his form radiant, his eyes brimming with understanding. It was Jesus, not as he was commonly depicted in paintings or in the minds of the faithful, but as he truly was, the embodiment of light, love, and healing. A collective gasp echoed through the chapel as the monks and nuns recognized the divine presence among them. But Jesus, with a gentle smile, raised his hand in blessing, silencing their astonishment and filling them with a profound sense of peace. His eyes, pools of fathomless compassion, seemed to peer into their souls, acknowledging their pain, their fears, and their unwavering faith. He walked among them, touching their hands, his mere presence radiating warmth and solace. The sorrow that had been a heavy cloak upon their shoulders seemed to dissipate, replaced by a burgeoning hope, fragile yet tenacious. With each step he took, the chapel, with its flickering candles and solemn chants, transformed into a garden of healing light. The darkness that had crept into their hearts receded, replaced by the dawning realization that they were not alone in their struggles. As the minutes passed, the chants that had been laced with despair took on a new melody. They were no longer just prayers, but songs of recognition, of shared suffering, and most importantly, of unwavering faith. The notes soared, no longer carrying the weight of sorrow, but the buoyancy of hope, like birds taking flight after a long and arduous winter. The monks and nuns, their faces now illuminated with newfound resolve, continued their chants, their voices ringing with the joy of redemption. They sang of the light that had pierced the darkness, of the love that had conquered despair, and the hope that had blossomed in the wasteland of their grief. As the final notes echoed and faded away, a profound silence descended upon the chapel. The monks and nuns, their faces aglow with the reflection of the candles and the memory of the divine visit, stood united. Their sorrow, though still present, was now tempered with the steel of hope, forged in the fires of their shared pain, and polished by the light of divine love. In that hallowed space, they realized that suffering, when embraced and understood, could be a pathway to profound transformation. And in the depths of their despair, they had found not just solace, but the strength to carry on, to heal, and to hope for a brighter dawn.